Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to our afternoon broadcast from the Ephesus West Palm Beach Church. I have been excited about today's program. We get an opportunity to delve into what is an HBCU and does it matter? I have some esteemed guests, distinguished guests that will be assisting us in this process. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to ask Dr. Lockhart to give us our opening prayer, and we'll move on through the program.
Bow our heads to Heavenly Father. We thank you for waking us up this morning and starting us on a new day. We thank you for letting the blood running warm in our veins, right usage of our limbs and our right mind. We know who to call someone that would not be able to answer today, but you smiled upon us that we should be able to do so. We ask the Heavenly Father that you guide our paths. Let the word be a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our paths. Keep us as the apple of your eye. Don't make us so rich that we forget about you. Don't make us so poor that we have to steal. But the Heavenly Father, Lord God, be with each and every one. In your name, Christ Jesus, we say amen.
As I shared before, we're coming to you from the Ephesus West Palm Beach on our platforms of Facebook as well as YouTube. On behalf of our pastor, Stephen Gates, and he will be coming in very shortly, and our officers as well as our church members. We want to just thank everyone who is viewing today. I want to encourage our parents to go ahead and grab our seniors and our juniors and our sophomores so that they can tune in and really get some credible information as relates to college, but in particular, HBCUs. I may date myself with this one, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I believe it was 1987, Chair Reed, and I was at the great Bethune-Cookman University, and it was Thursday night, and I was in the Fever Hall, and it was much must-see TV, and there was a spinoff show from the Cosby Show called A Different World. And I remember it was a buzz around campus, and we were just looking forward to seeing our experience being shown every Thursday night. And so from that experience, when I saw it, I was hooked. And every Thursday, I believe it was 8 o'clock, our dorm lobbies was packed, and if you had your girlfriend, she was there with you. And it was amazing sort of to see Dr. Lockhart, just really our experience being able to share with the world what an HBCU is, a historically Black college and university. I want to go ahead, as we prepare, I want to introduce our distinguished guest. I'm going to start first, and if you bear with me, I'm reading these off my computer here. Tamara Young is the Assistant Vice President for Enrollment Services at Oakwood University. In this role, she has oversight of recruitment, admissions, financial aid, and the registrar office. In 2020, she was recognized as the Staff Member of the Year for the Division of Mission, Enrollment Services, and Retention. She describes herself as a fixer, constantly seeking innovative solutions. Her favorite text is Proverbs 16:3. Commit your works unto the Lord, and he will establish your plans. Our next guest is Attorney Chael Reed. And Attorney Reed is an assistant state attorney in the 15th Judicial Circuit of Florida, serving Palm Beach County, and has served in this capacity since 2009. He currently serves as the chief of the Juvenile Division, where he oversees the prosecution of all juvenile cases in Palm Beach County, along with training and supervising attorneys. He has prosecuted a myriad of cases on offenses ranging from simple battery to homicide. Attorney Reed is a member of the Palm Beach County Bar Association, the Cunningham Bar Association, and Hispanic Bar Association. Attorney Reed also serves on the community engagement team for Palm Beach County's Criminal Justice Commission, where he strives to create a culture of transparency and accountability between the community and the criminal justice system. He is a graduate of Florida Atlantic University and, of course, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University College of Law. He has demonstrated passion for protecting the community and reshaping the community as well. Our next guest is Dr. Emmanuel Leland, a native of Brooklyn, New York. He is the Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Services at Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. He has served in various roles. Dr. Leland has raised approximately $4 million in grants and private donations during the span of his career. He holds a bachelor's degree in political science, a master's degree in educational leadership, both from Delaware State University and Dover, Delaware at HBCU, as well as a doctoral of education degree from Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mayor Williams, our next guest, is a graduate from Suncoast High School right here in West Palm Beach. He went on to Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama, where he majored in aerospace engineering. He is a member of the National Society of Black Engineers and the vice president of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Aeronautics Student Chapter. He went on to work after he graduated at Simcom International in Orlando, Florida as an aerodynamic flight test engineer. He also worked on high altitude airships at Lockheed Martin in Palmdale, California, to TK Engineering in Cincinnati, Ohio, where he became the director of engineering. He is currently employed with Collins Aerospace and manages the global MRO operations for Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan engines. He's married to Andrea Williams, who's also a Tuskegee University alum, and both are active members of the South Florida Tuskegee Alumni Chapter. Our next guest, Dr. Lockhart, Dr. George Lockhart. He is a graduate of John R. Leonard High School in Green Acres, Florida, right here in West Palm Beach. He received his BS degree in accounting and finance from Tuskegee University. It's by chance we have two Tuskegee men on the call today. He has an MS degree in mathematics from Nova Southeastern University, and he holds his doctorate in instructional technology, distance education also from Nova Southeastern University. Dr. Lockhart is currently the manager of the Department of Charter Schools for the Palm Beach County School District, where he oversees 51 charter schools. He has well over 31 years in education, where he has served in various capacities: teacher, athletic head coach, assistant principal, and principal. And he was the first Black head baseball coach at John R. Leonard High School, and the first Black baseball district and regional champion here in Palm Beach County. Prior to becoming an educator, he worked for the federal government for the Internal Revenue Service. He was honored to be the Principal of the Year, CTE, for 2009, 2010, 2011, and 2015. He's the author of various books, and as well as a musician and a pastor. And finally, we have Dr. Roland Bullard, and he serves currently as Vice President for Student Success at Dillard University in New Orleans, Louisiana. In his role, Dr. Bullard has oversight for campus police, career services, conduct counseling, disability services, Greek life, health services, spiritual development, study abroad, student engagement and leadership, the TRIO programs, and university housing. During the 2007 and 2008 academic year, he was appointed as a Harvard University Fellow and managed special projects within Harvard's John F. Kennedy School of Government. He earned his PhD in higher education from Indiana University. He earned his master's from the University of South Carolina and a BA from Florida Atlantic University. And other than being an amazing husband and father, his other and great claim to fame, he's my brother as well. We're gonna go ahead and move forward with our discussion. Dr. Bullard, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start with you. And the question that I'm gonna ask to you, do HBCUs matter?
First of all, let me say thanks so much to you all for this, and to the Ephesus Church, my home church, for the invitation to be here and just being on this panel with this distinguished group. it's certainly an honor. And so I look forward to our conversation today. HBCUs matter, and they're going to continue to matter. HBCUs matter because they are ours, and they have been ours, and they're one of the seminal parts of who we are as people, especially those of us who folks of color who have connections that we have, both those that we're excited about and those that we haven't been excited about for the last 400 years in these here United States. And so as we think about the time going forward, the fact that our young people need to be supported, the fact that there's still systemic racism, the fact that there's still inequities in our school systems, HBCUs continue to matter. And I think my colleagues here on the board here will agree that the work that we do in HBCUs is so critical, not only because we make sure that folks are that they graduate and they move on to do great things, but that we meet students where they start and where they are, no matter what the United States present to us in terms of inequities in our school systems, in terms of racial issues. When those students show up at our doors, we say to them, we're going to take care of you and we're going to carry you through and provide you everything that you need. So I can go on, but I will say that to your answer, HBCU does matter.
Dr. Lockhart, I'm gonna softball to you, and I'm gonna kind of switch it up, and I'll come back to my first question. I remember, Doc, when I was a senior at North Shore High School, I took my first trip, my first college trip to Bethune-Cookman University. I remember getting on the bus with other students from Palm Beach County, and we put up on campus. And when I got off the bus, I would want to tell you that the buildings just attracted me. I want to tell you that the grounds made me just want to be there. But I'll be honest with you, I fell in love with my HBCU when I saw the girls walking on campus. I'm gonna be honest with you. Dr. Lockhart, tell me, when did you fall in love with your HBCU?
That prefix kind of set me up on that one. So definitely for me, going to Tuskegee Institute at that particular time, for me, was pretty easy. I graduated from John Island High School. It was 4,000 students. We had double session. My senior class, there were right at 800 students and only 22 Blacks. So when I went to Tuskegee at that particular time, everything was Black: the custodians, the teachers, the cafeteria workers, the dorm residents' mothers. So that pretty much hit me. I went there in May of my senior year to watch my cousin graduate. And I had the opportunity to go to University of Florida and to Brown University. Well, those two schools pretty much mirrored my high school, and I felt tight. But and I didn't know that. I didn't know the restriction that was on me until I stepped into that campus. And so then I was flooded with, as you say, the females that were there. And I mean, they were tall, short, light skin, dark skin. And this is before contacts. They had gray eyes, they had green eyes, they had whatever the situation wanted to be, And so that obviously, then I saw at that particular time, it was a hot graduation day there in May. I saw the Omega stepping in suits. I didn't know what an Omega was or Alpha. I didn't know any of that, but it definitely caught my attention. Having to try to be a peer point to turn a warble into a tight circle at my particular high school. When I went there, I felt I belonged. In short, that's pretty much what the diet, when you go there. And when I arrived at Tuskegee as a freshman, I went there to play ball. But when I got there, I can talk about, oxtails and collard greens and sweet tea and not feel like I was an alien. The music, people knew who the Elements were. They knew, again, fraternity, sororities, the music. I can pretty much let my hair down. And one thing they said to us that was very clear after I finished coming from the chicken coop there, Brother Williams, the professors told us, they looked us right in the eye, and this resonates with me today. You will be twice as good. You will work twice as hard, and you will work twice as long just to be considered average. As a mathematician, the confluence was against whom? Who are we working that hard against? I think it's pretty clear now. So whatever it said, and you can't sneeze hard, and they want to pretty much bring everything down on you when others get a pass. So, but with that Tuskegee, when I left there, for sure, I can hold my head up, and my head was bloody, may have been, but unbowed.
Ms. Young, thank you, Doc. Do HBCUs matter?
Absolutely, they matter. HBCUs generate billions of dollars into the total economic impact for their local and regional communities. They ensure diversity in the workplace. We graduate, 25% of STEM Black graduates. We also outperform PWIs as it relates to retaining and graduating first-gen low-income African Americans. So yeah, everything that was described here talks about these things, and HBCUs matter. We're rooted in this. It's like an incubator where you can come and be yourself and grow into your full potential. And you're in an environment where they celebrate your heritage. I mean, these are all powerful things that are reasons why HBCUs matter. But one of the things that I always like to tell parents is that, we produce graduates with high level of critical thinking skills. And because our core is faith, community service, things like that, they develop these intellectual traits like integrity, perseverance, confidence, and courage. Dr. Lockhart just talked about what he was able to do when he left, just the sense of knowing who he was. It builds us up in a way that we know anything is possible.
Thank you so much. Dr. Leland, I'm gonna throw this question at you, sir. Do you think HBCUs will be relevant in, say, 10 years?
HBCUs, well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. But HBCUs has been relevant for over 150 years, right? W.E.B. Du Bois, Oprah, Thurgood Marshall, Martin Luther King, Septima Clark, Kamala Harris, right? HBCUs and every phenomenal folks that are on this panel. HBCUs continue to be the best representation of what this nation could be. I fundamentally believe HBCUs gives an opportunity for those who otherwise wouldn't have it. HBCU, like Delaware State University, saved my life, right? Literally. I came from Brooklyn, New York, and had some unfortunate things happen. And leaving New York 3 hours away, I just found myself at an HBCU. When you think about HBCUs 10 years from now, we're hoping and wishing that folks see us more than just an investment, right? So when you're thinking about an investment, that's a return, right? Someone's expecting a return, right? We're hoping that we have more Mackenzie Scotts who sow, right? Sow a seed into HBCU. So 10 years from now, I think we are relevant then. We are relevant now, and we'll be relevant in the future. Absolutely.
Attorney Reed, I'm going to throw a question to you, sir. I know these gentlemen and lady have already spoken on it. Do HBCUs matter?
Yeah, I think that for the same reasons that HBCUs started back in the between 1830s and the 1860s is when HBCUs, first became recognized and the term became coined. The same reasons why these institutions were needed then is really the same reason why the institutions are needed now. And yes, we're in a time when racism has morphed, but it is still present, right? HBCUs were created because Black students were not given the opportunities to become students or to succeed, even if they were students at white institutions. And so, that is still true today. We still know that predominantly white institutions, Black students are brought in for diversity quotas, or even when Black students are coming in, they're not in an atmosphere where they can be nurtured, like Ms. Young talked about, right? And so, for the same reasons that HBCUs needed to exist then, they still need to exist now. part of what we need to be doing is looking at and having conversations on a much larger scale about, well, why does this need still exist? And then how are we going to translate the experience and the education that our Black students are having at HBCUs into closing the wealth gap, into making sure that the students who are graduating from HBCUs are not just plucked as diversity picks, but they are on the same level as students who are going to PWI, students who are going to Princeton's and Harvard's with high class education.
Mr. Williams, I'm going to go ahead and give you the question that I shared with Dr. Lockhart. When did you fall in love with your HBCU?
So, fair question, and I got to first off say Dr. Lockhart, his answer on Tuskegee University is 100% correct, even though we went there at different times. And so I can appreciate the scenery that he described, and also the culture. I can appreciate it. Now, coming from West Palm Beach and going to Tuskegee, it was a different transition due to the environment, meaning just the total going from paved streets to clay streets, and getting to see that dynamics of people from all over the world coming to Tuskegee. And once you get on campus and you start interacting with everyone and you say, where are you from? I'm from California. I'm from Oregon. I'm from Pennsylvania. And then they're from Africa. Then you see your professors, they look like you. And the next thing you know, you're having these conversations about things that you did at home that is so much in line with what they did at home. And it becomes this wonderful experience. But what sealed the deal for me at Tuskegee was experiencing my first homecoming. And that's when you see literally hundreds and hundreds and thousands of alumni just come back. And then when you graduate and then you see somebody in the street that has a Tuskegee shirt on, or you give them that nod, it is the overall experience that comes together. And I'm sure you guys can appreciate that.
All right, Dr. Lockhart, let's kind of tackle this from a policy standpoint. As we know that the Biden administration has come into play, and thankfully they're coming out swinging with many of the initiatives that he promised when he was running for office. What should be the agenda for HBCUs? And then Dr. Bullitt, I'll come to you after that, after Dr. Lockhart responds.
Well, that's pretty clear. It should be very linear in its approach, should be very clean, should be very clear. And the approach is to make sure that they have the funding, and that is the equality, to find an equilibrium that's there. We went to Tuskegee, Brother Williams and I, and at that time, the source that was given by the state was $4 million, whereas 15 minutes up the road at Auburn University was $40 million. Wait a minute. That's something wrong with that picture. So I think that, the fulcrum itself, we got to make sure, again, there's an even playing field. So I think it was Jesse Jackson who said they never wanted to destroy the slaves. They needed a strong back. They wanted to break their spirit. So with that said, I think if we can, the facilities and everything that's the same, even if it's for the private universities, there's still some monies that are available from each state, to go on to make sure that they understand as far as the equilibrium. When we have the resources, doesn't necessarily mean cash, but some of the other things that can build up the facilities itself, the books, then I think we can make sure we can move forward with that with some proclivity on that. So that administration needs to make sure that we're pretty, again, linear in this approach.
And Dr. Bullitt, I know you're on the front line with this, and Ms. Young, I'll come to you, and Dr. L as well. So can you kind of expound as well as in terms of looking the other university, what are they asking in terms of being able to be effective in educating our young people?
Well, I think one of the things that I'll say it's problematic in some ways, is that there's certainly a lot of public HBCUs that have support that come through the state funding, and certainly that needs to be right-sided. But I think for private HBCUs, which I think everybody on this call is, we have a different price structure that we work with in terms of what it costs to go to these universities. And so for that reason, a lot of times we get placed in awkward spots, because it's, you're talking about some first generation folks that come to us, folks who are highly in need of the Pell Grant. And so to say to them, we want you to come and take out, the funding that it takes to put forward a $25,000, $30,000 education seems it seems problematic in its thinking. And so what we say to ourselves is, what do we need to do to ensure that no matter where you go, so no matter where you show up, whether it's at a Benedict, it's at a Dillard, it's at an Oakwood, or if it's at a Savannah State or a Delaware State, that you have the ability to pay those funds. And one of the things that I like to see this administration do is to look at things like the practical things, like doubling the Pell Grant. Everybody knows that the Pell Grant is something that we all can agree on, no matter where you go, whether it's HBCUs, whether it is community colleges, wherever you show up, doubling the Pell Grant. And I think that's the only way this is going to work. I think as much as we're in a great time right now for HBCUs and people are excited about this, about what's going on at HBCUs, but when the lights go off, will we be in a situation where we have some lasting initiatives that allow us to continue to move forward? And one of those things would be something like doubling the Pell Grant, or looking at the funds that it takes to start where you are and to end up at a place that is, whether it's private or public. And I'll stop there.
Let me add something though too. I want to add, there's been this conversation around free education, free college, and many times because of the First Lady Jill Biden, she has the background in community colleges, so free colleges make sense, I guess, to this administration. But if you're having that conversation of free college and community colleges are a part of that, HBCUs needs to be a part of that equation, right? Because when you think about community colleges, HBCUs serves the same population, low wealth, first generation, high low wealth, first generation. So I think that's really important. And as many of my colleagues mentioned, equity is going to be important. I was a little disappointed, and hopefully I'm not controversial, but I was a little disappointed in the pick for Secretary of Education. And I think Cardona is an excellent choice. I think he has a stellar record. However, I see, and those who are in those K-12 space may agree or disagree, but I see there's an opportunity for us to, if he would have picked a person who had a higher ed background, so begin with the end in mind, because we as college educators see the end product of that K-12, right? So how do we work backwards to begin to address and reform some of the K-12 issues? Mental health issues becomes a real issue, right? Testing becomes a real issue where a lot of our students come to college underprepared because they're more focused on passing a test than really comprehending and retaining the information that comes to them. So I think there's an opportunity for the Biden-Harris administration to really look at K-12 with higher ed folks and really begin to reform.
Ms. Young, I'll let you chime in as well.
Well, I agree that affordability is a major issue. Definitely Pell Grants needs to be addressed. But I think that there's other things that Biden can do to cut costs for universities so that, we can reduce tuition costs, such as infrastructure projects, assisting us, giving more money to work-study programs, federal contracts. There are ways that they can fund us so that we can have the right pricing strategy for the demographics that we serve. I think too, Biden is really big now. He's talks a lot about the green sustainability. Where do HBCUs fit into that? How can our students participate, or can we see that on our campuses, in our buildings? And then, Black people from the start have been very entrepreneurial. And I think that owning our own is the key to closing the wealth gap. So I want to see entrepreneurship as a part of the Biden agenda.
Let me ask this question, if I could just kind of stay for just a second. So can you explain to me, anyone you can take this question in higher education, who is the mouthpiece for Black colleges and universities on the federal level as relates to articulating what you all are saying the needs are? Is it on the university presidents? Are there individuals that are sent up in place of that? Who's the mouthpiece for that?
It's the president.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I do think that I don't know if you all saw the picture last year, a couple of years ago, where all the presidents went to the White House, and I feel bad for them because when it jumped off, it seemed like just a reasonable idea at the time, and then the wheels came off of the thing. But there was some promise that we were going to get something in return for that photo op, which is what it turned out to be. And I think since then, I think presidents have been a little squeamish about interacting with the White House. And so it's interesting, since then, I literally was on a call 2 days ago with the Department of Education, where they asked us, what is from the HBCU standpoint, what are our concerns with the coronavirus response? How can we support HBCUs more succinctly? And so I think that we'll see a better response. I think with Vice President Harris in place, this will stay kind of front of mind. But I do know, to answer your question a little more specifically, there's a White House representative that it will be selected here shortly. And what the HBCU presidents are pushing for is somebody who is a retired college president who has been in the trenches and who understands what that looks like. And so I know folks like a Janetta Cole, or the educator from Spelman that was there. She wrote the book on the cafeteria. Why do the white kids and Black kids sit on different sides of the cafeteria? Her name escapes me, but I'll get the name for you. Say it again.
Marvo?
No, not her. What's her? That's not her. But anyway, she is one of the front runners for a position like that. And I think if we get a former college president in that space, I think we will be in much better shape than we are at this point.
And if I was to add, I do think, yes, presidents are one of many who should be that voice. Presidents are usually neither a blue or a red, they're purple, right? They have to really stay in that middle line. For South Carolina, we have Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham, right? So you have to really play and juggle both. But I also do think that voice is also UNCF, Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. I do think NAFIA plays a role in that, and then of course the White House initiative as well.
Thank you. Attorney Reed, I want to just ask you, because you and I have discussed in length in our walks on Saturday mornings that there are not a lot of people that look like you on your job, and that just trying to improve the way that looks. My question for you is, how do we connect Black excellence with HBCUs? How do we do that?
Well, I think a big part of that is going to come, one, from the alumni associations, making sure that we are staying connected with our alums who are going out and doing big things, and who are, and not even just big things, who are consistent in moving forward the agenda of seeing more Black and brown faces at tables where we have voices of influence. I think that, you know, it's going to come down to the alumni associations making sure that we do that. And then also when we, you know, when we as alum get to those positions where we are making decisions that impact who comes in the door, who stays in the door, who has an opportunity, who, you know, we can share power with. It's us reaching back to our, you know, to those institutions that we graduated from or that we are affiliated with, and making sure that we are staying connected. You know, one of the things that I've been doing for the past couple of years is to go back to FAMS Law School and do interviews with the students there on the campuses, and not just interviews, but to work with some of our students on you know, their resume building, and what is it that, you know, they need to be presenting to a potential employer, even if it's not to my office. You know, when you're going to seek a different type of job other than a state job or a government job, what do you need to be showing? What are these people interested in seeing? Setting up mock interviews. Our Black Bar Association down here in Palm Beach had one last weekend. That's why I had to leave our walk on time. We were doing mock interviews for law school students throughout the state of Florida who wanted to just come and you know, sit down and have that opportunity to engage with us. So I think it's twofold. It's the alumni associations making sure that we stay in connection with those who leave and those who've left and are doing things in the workforce to, you know, to reach back. And then when we get on a higher level too, it's making sure that we are highlighting those individuals who have graduated from HBCUs. There's no reason why, you know, Kamala Harris, you know, she had to become the vice president for us to celebrate the fact that she's coming from an HBCU. You know, she is a Black female senator. And that should have been something that, you know, was in our face and was highlighted well before. So we need to do a better job of that part as well.
Doc, you and I, we deal with K through 12, and I want to kind of switch that question up a bit. How do we, for our middle school and high school students, how do we connect excellence with HBCUs? You and I were on a spectrum. When we entered our colleges, we were on the opposite end. As you said, you had the chance to get into Brown. I limped in with a 2.3. And so for those students, we know that HBCU serve students like me, but students like yourself that came in highly acclaimed, how do we connect them with the feasibility of going to HBCUs?
Well, again, and I want to go back to what Dr. Lalanda is saying. We have to praise our own pond, you know, so I think it's important before, and also with Ms. Young, she hit the nail on the head, 100%. We have to, you can't make, I don't care, you take the jeans, you can beat them as hard as you want to and stone wash them and you'll never become silk. So you can only work with the fabric that you're given. With that said, you have to, a teacher, a pretty good teacher can back up and teach the child the same way, different ways, or the same answers. You know, often as a teacher, people say, what do you teach? I say, I teach children. No, what subject? Yeah, I know what you meant. So the bottom line is that we have to make sure that these children are being educated however they come to you. They become tattered and torn. I know, for the record, I taught math, but a child came into, I was at the high school, a young Black girl came in and she opened up her book bag and roaches came out. The kids started laughing, scooting over there, seat away from her. What do you do as an educator at that point? This is a pivotal moment in that child's life, you know, that she'll remember forever. So how do you handle that? You know, and so the question is, now you're talking about however you do handle it, if it's positive, now you're talking about a gifted teacher, a talented teacher, you know, not a skill necessarily, that's something that you learn, but your talent comes from somewhere else. So at that particular point, you have to make a decision to help that child. Now, at that, she's ready to learn, and children come to what we call whole because they come from tattered homes. You know, one of those books that I wrote with the 4 S's, your setting as a pyramid, and at the base is your setting. Next, you have that, whatever your setting is, rich, poor, whatever. Then you have standards. You're going to come up with your own standards. Then you have systems to be able to live and survive. And then if all 3 of those are making pretty good adjustments, then you have success. So I think that we have to teach our children at the elementary, because the person can't read, or they blame their high school teacher. High school teacher said, don't blame me, blame the middle school teacher. They came to me, couldn't read. The middle school teacher said, this is middle school. Blame the elementary teacher. The elementary teacher says, I can't, hey, I did the best I could. Blame the parents. The parent says, blame the high school I went to. And that reverse vicious cycle stays there. So we have to put our foot into that engine. We may get it gnawed off a little bit, our ankle, but then you got to slow it down and start the reverse of that, to be our own clarion, to be our own person, to be able to speak. So where does it start? Where's the party? We say at Tuskegee, right here. Party starts right here. So everyone who says, where do you go to school? What was my Tuskegee? You have to exclaim that and say, be able to teach the children and the teachers themselves. Because in another book that I wrote, 357, we remember 1, maybe 2 teachers who made a difference in our lives. You know, 3 plus 57 is 60. From kindergarten to your undergrad, you had 60 teachers. How many difference, Ms. Young, made a difference in your life? That you can sit down and tell your grandchildren, you all come in and sit down and be quiet. I want to tell you about this teacher that changed my life. Or maybe a coach, you know? So you can say to, Mr. Bullard, ask him who was his freshman English teacher. He may know the answer, he may not, you know, but simply you were with that teacher all year for at least 1 hour a day, and you can't remember them, you know? But that one teacher or that coach that made a difference. So we have to make sure with our teachers that they can be able to, are you teaching? I mean, when I was a principal, that's what I need to know. Are you teaching? Well, the teachers now learn that you gave the child an F. Well, they're not doing their homework. How much is your homework worth? You know, the child's passing the test. The quiz is, remember, 0 to 60, 0 to 59 is an F. From 60 to 100, you got 4 grades. This is an F. And that's 4 grades. They don't give that to you when you take the electrician test. You can get it all you need to take other certain tests to pass, but we're telling them from 0 to 59. And then you say you are a failure. The child says, I know, I've been told that all my life. But one teacher will say, no, you're not. You're not. You know, so when you come to this class, you're going to learn. So then we prepare them. But like Ms. Young said, we got to make sure that they can read and write. Now, no one is going to just give you a free scholarship and you can't read or write or do nothing. And then when you get there to college, behave yourself. You know, so we're still looking for model students to graduate, because the ones who do graduate, I know when I was being recruited out of Tuskegee, they said, I said, listen, I have a certain GPA. Look at this is my GPA. The guy said, wait, we're going to teach you what we need to know at this company. The only reason why I'm talking to you now is because you subdued yourself for 4 years to testing. You know, so basically that's pretty much my answer in short.
Attorney Reed, and then Mr. Williams, I'm coming to you next.
You know, one of the things too that I neglected to mention, and thinking about, you know, Dr. Lockhart's comments when it comes to our elementary, middle, and high school students is, you know, we still need to make sure that, you know, we are engaging in like these mentorship programs, reaching back into the elementary, middle, and high school, arena, so that they can see, that we can be their Black Panther, right? So that they can see that there is a Black professional who looks just like them, something that they can, you know, strive to attain. To be honest with you, and we talked about this a week or two ago, whatever it was, when I was going through middle school, going through high school, I did not know what an HBCU was. It wasn't until I hit, even when I was applying to go to college, you know, FAU was right down the street, great university. That's where I went for my undergraduate degree. It wasn't until I was, you know, looking into law schools and I started to learn more about what HBCUs were, what they represent, the type of education that, you know, that can be attained there, that I made the decision to go to an HBCU. I didn't even know Oakwood University was considered an HBCU. All I knew was that, well, if you were Black and you were in the South and you were Adventist, that's where you gotta go. You know, that's all I knew. So I think it's incumbent upon us to reach back into those elementary, middle school, and high school arenas and to be that guiding light, be that example, be that mentor for those young people so that they can see that, you know, there is a standard for Black excellence and that HBCUs can contribute to getting you to that Black excellence. You know, that that's one of those ways we need to make that connection.
Mr. Williams, there's somebody sitting now while we are talking, saying under their breath that this whole HBCU thing, I get it, empowers our kids, great, but that's really not the real world. That's not how the world looks. What will be your response to that if for that person who's thinking that right now? You're muted.
Okay, sorry about that.
Mhm.
So what I would say to that individual is, as everybody was mentioning, is if you look at what who you're talking to, and you can speak to that individual clearly and say, hey, here's some paths that I took. And then you talk about the level of mentorship and the level of experiences and exposures that you get at an HBCU that you only get because you're at an HBCU. I talk about things like when I was at Tuskegee, we had career programs, career fairs, and Auburn University was right down the street, 15 minutes away. The Auburn engineering students try to sneak into our career fair so that they can get exposure to the companies, the Fortune 500 companies that were coming to interview Tuskegee students. When I graduated, my whole class, we had offers. I go back now, we got a team of us, it's about 20 alumni from the aerospace department. And what we started was this program where we reach back to the seniors graduating and we mentor them and we talk to them and we give them jobs. So not only are we talking to them and we're helping them out, we're giving them jobs, good paying jobs. And it's basically trying to connect the dots from a student that's in high school or middle school all the way to graduating from an HBCU and still going that path. Now, I'm first one to say that college is not for everybody. It's not a mandate that you have to go to college to be successful. I'm only supporting the fact that if you want to go to a university and if you want to stand out and be scholarly important when you get out of that university, I'm a proponent of HBCUs. A couple of things we did when I was in Ohio, we had mentoring. And mentoring is the key thing, just having that conversation, that dialogue where a student that's just thinking, not sure which way to go, left or right, has somebody they can reach out to and say, hey, what does this mean? I'm a fan of airplanes. I love aerospace. And we started a program in Ohio where we got urban kids and exposed them to the whole aerospace industry. And on the seventh day literally of the program, we took them flying. We took them in an airplane and they could actually grab the controls and fly the airplane around. And we did it for several years. And it's one thing that kid that was struggling with thinking, they can say, I see so many different opportunities that did not require a college degree that we walk through each day in that program. And if they don't succeed in life, the one thing they can say is that I was told I had an opportunity. I was exposed to flying an airplane. I was exposed to aerospace. And this can go across all different industries, not just aerospace. I just happen to be in that field a whole lot, but it can go across all different areas. And I think that's the kind of appreciation that we have to give to our young people to say, hey, this is the experience that we're talking about, and keep and encourage them.
Thank you. Ms. Young, I'm gonna have you chime in as well.
I think when people ask the question relating to excellence in HBCUs, you got to show them the data. They need to understand the outcomes. They need to hear the testimonies. Those are the things, especially in our community, that really make a difference. Show Oprah Winfrey talking about her experience, and Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams and with Martin Luther King. so that they understand what the outcomes really are, and what does it really mean? That's not the real world, because I wake up every day. I'm a Black woman when I walk out my house. I'm a Black mother. The first question, nobody's stopping asking, oh, did you go to an HBC or a PWI? The first impression and perception is always going to be what I look like. And I think that, when you talk to students about what the real world is and how to prepare them, it's about exposure, which you guys just talked about, those internships. They come seeking out our students. And I circle back to what I said before, those critical thinking skills, those intellectual traits that we are known for: perseverance, courage, confidence, integrity. They come to HBCUs recruiting for their companies because they know what we bring to the table. And, sharing with them the importance of having a space to develop, that's supportive. You don't leave at HBCU like you do some schools where Dr. Lockhart mentioned, you got that one influential person in your life. You leave HBCUs with a community that's worldwide. Attorney Reed talked about, I think it was you, I'm getting confused now, but, just being able to go out and you see somebody with the shirt on, you may not know them, but it's like, hey, we're part of the same family, the same community. You need something, I need something, let's work together, whatever, it's a deeper sense of community. And I think that's the story that needs to be told when people are trying to understand, how we prepare students for the real world.
Dr. L, my question for you is, for that student who's home right now and says, I want to be a college administrator. I want to look like the gentleman and lady that's on the Zoom today. What steps must they take to get to where you are?
I think understanding what student success means is first, right? Having a passion. For me, I always wanted to be like Attorney Reed, right? I wanted to be an attorney all my life, and I thought that's what I was going to do. I thought about going to Howard Law School, but for me, the passion, waking up every day and doing something that doesn't feel like work, really drove my decision to stay in college per se. So starting as a director of student activities at Delaware State, my alma mater, gave me the opportunity to really tap into who I always been, right? Someone who wanted to help others grow, to see that I could potentially have the next senator of this particular state. I could potentially help influence the next singer, right? SZA, the singer SZA, she spent one semester, I think 1 or 2 semesters at Delaware State, and she came in saying, I'm going to be a singer. And she was determined. I'm not a dream killer. And I said, look, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. And now that's what she's doing. Jamila Mustafa, who is huge in or is rising in MTV, seeing her really go from that freshman in college to now this rising star in the mass communication space. I think that's what I love. I love to see the success of students, and I think higher ed just drove that passion, and it just kind of kept going from there. So I enjoy what I do. I don't feel like it's work. So the steps for me is really continuing to serve, continue to understand your mission, continue to sow a seed into someone else. And I think if you lead with that, that will continue in the right path of your career. So I started pretty young. I started 6 months after I graduated. I wanted to make sure that no one questioned my ability. So I After I left Delaware State, I went to a predominantly white institution and became the first African American director there. Worked my way to Bethune-Cookman, your alma mater, for a little while as assistant dean. Then went to St. Louis to join a phenomenal president in Dr. DeJuan Womack. Worked my way there. During his inauguration, met my current president, Rosalind Clark Artist, and joined her here at Benedict College. So for me, it really comes down to the passion and seeing students be successful.
We are actually wrapping up. We have about 8 or 9 minutes. So I want to try to get a few things in before we wrap up for the day. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to start with Ms. Young, and then Dr. L, I'm coming to you, then Dr. Bullock, then finally you. If you all could take about 1.5 minutes and just kind of share some of the exciting things that's going on in your campuses, and then we'll wrap up with sort of final comments from each of the participants. Ms. Young, we'll have you go first.
Thank you for the opportunity to share some information about Oakwood University. It really is my favorite school. And I want to just share, I fell in love with Oakwood because I felt the passion of the staff and faculty, and just that they felt responsible for my future. They really exemplified true servant leadership. And the students that are coming in today, I'm excited to actually play a role in enrollment management. We have an app that we're working to make it easy for students to know where to go. One of the things people say about HBCUs is there's a lack of communication. So we've worked really hard to bring our communication into 2021. So there's an app. They can ask questions. They can see what's going on around the campus. They can even sell something that they don't want to use anymore to another person. So it's very interactive. One of the things we're known for is we're one of the top 5 schools that we're one of the top 5 producers of HBCU students applying to medical schools. And so our sciences are one of our biggest programs, also our business program. But I just really want to share, when you talk about HBCUs, one of the things that to me stands out about Oakwood is when you really integrate the faith component, because it's strong here. We have a church on our campus. We have chaplains that are heavily involved, but the sense of community, when you have others that believe similar, you really do walk away with a family, that prays together, stays together. And so that's one of the things that I can really say about Oakwood University, and may stand out a little bit differently. Not that the religious component isn't at other HBCUs, but for me, I think that's one of the strongest, most transformational pieces, is that a teacher starts the class off praying. If you need support in the moment, anybody on campus is willing to stop and give you that spiritual and emotional support that you need. We have awesome degree programs. We're affordable like most HBCUs, so I don't want to get into that. But just really speaking to the student experience and why I love it, and why my daughter is a graduating senior here. So I've invested, my father invested in sending me and my 3 sisters. One's a doctor, there's a lawyer in the family, a physical therapist, and then you have me, an education leader here at Oakwood. So it's definitely shown the outcomes in my family.
Thank you so much, Dr. L.
Yeah, so Benedict College, one of the few institutions that was founded by a woman, Bathsheba Benedict, in 1870, is led by its first female 14th president, Dr. Rosalind Clark Artist. We are located in Columbia, South Carolina, 2,100 students. For us, Dr. Artist did something some institutions tried to find ways to do. We lowered our tuition by 26% because we wanted to ensure that when we tackle college affordability, no student will leave with an enormous amount of debt after 4 years. So for us, we wanted to make sure that we package that student to success. When I think about HBCUs as a whole and Benedict College, we're a family-oriented institution, one who supports you from the time you set foot on that campus. Education is power. So having the opportunity to go to any institution, to me, is truly a blessing. However, when you talk about HBCUs versus a PWI, for me, you can choose an institution where you are tolerated, right? Or you can choose an institution where you are celebrated, elevated, and empowered. And I believe, and I speak for everyone on this panel when it comes to HBCUs, that we do well. If you take out all the minutia, when it comes down to it, what HBCUs do best is supporting people who look like you and I.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bullard.
Thanks again, Brother Rick, for this opportunity. I just wanted to say quickly about Dillard University that there is power in being on our campus. When you walk down the center of Dillard University, there are these powerful oak trees that line the center of the campus, and it's something that we always say: if you can make your way to the Jewel of Gentilly, you will get on that campus and you'll understand a feeling that you won't be able to shake once you walk away from the campus. Certainly, like these other folks, we do our best to make sure that we cover you in terms of your finances and all of those kinds of things, but there is a feeling that you get when you sit under those oak trees. And so a couple of wonderful things that are happening on our campus. You all may have seen on Facebook and different social media spaces that we're going to be hosting PJ Morton on our campus as an artist in residence over the next year. He is going to talk through with our young people issues around the music industry. He's going to put together some internships for our campus. And I feel like these types of opportunities are going to continue to be very good opportunities for our young people over time. I think all of our schools will continue to do that because Black people are going to want to do the best for Black people. And I think that's the message that people are starting to get. If you remember last summer, there was a major uprising around the George Floyd murder. And one of the things that Dillard University did was opened a Center for Racial Justice in response to that. And we have started to think about community policing. We started to think about what it means to provide equity in the criminal justice system. And so we expect that our students, this isn't so that academics can come and sit around and pontificate about all the things happening in criminal justice. This is so that our young people can be front and center and see what it means to think about equity in those spaces. And so really proud of our university around that. Outside of all the wonderful things that folks have mentioned today, Dillard University, Benedict, Oakwood, to quote one of these young men out here on the radio, they'll tell you that we the best, and we do it the best, because we think about what it means to have this experience, but we have experienced it, and that's not something that other people can say. I can tell you what it means to not have everything that I need to be successful, but to walk into these gates and for somebody to say, "It's okay, I got you." And so I say that to folks who are trying to figure out how to sell folks on this experience. You don't have to sell them on it. You simply have to bring them to these gates, and we'll let you know what it takes to make you feel all right about leaving your young people with us for 4 years.
Thank you, Dr. Bullard. Mr. Williams, you can give us maybe a minute or so, just a closing thought on just the importance of having that HBCU experience.
Well, thank you again, and also thank you for inviting me. Just to capture everything that was said today is too much. This is a good, I hope this is recorded so we can go back and listen to it again. But to focus on the experience of going to Tuskegee and going to any HBCU, because I had an opportunity to visit a lot of HBCUs during my college years and after college years. And I appreciate the HBCU experience 100%. You have to understand, when you graduate from a university like Tuskegee or any of the HBCUs represented today, you are part of a club, a sorority, and not in the sense of just for partying, for socializing, but you're part of this network that expands the United States and globally. And we were on a cruise one time a couple years ago, and I saw a guy from Tuskegee, and you see him across the hall, and you say, "Hey, Tuskegee, what's up?" You don't remember his name, but you remember his face. Mm-hmm. And right then and there, you start, that connection just seals you. It seals your conversation. And anytime you see each other again, now you're back on campus again, and you're feeling that same love and that same energy. And a quick note: when I graduated and went off to work, the fact that you had your colleagues that did not look like you in the office, it shouldn't scare you. That's the world we live in. But the fact that you now have this Tuskegee brand or this HBCU brand, you are working now, and now you have to show and prove. I had a boss that said, he gave me my first project, my first lead project, and he literally said, "Okay, let me see what Tuskegee can do." Mm. And in 1 year, 1.5 years, I was his boss. And in 2 years, he left the company. And then a third year, he tried to recruit me to go join him where he went to. So the point I'm saying is that we can get you there. We can get you to the campus. It's going to be tough. Just because you go to a HBCU, don't think for 1 minute that the work is any easier. It's actually harder. Yes. It's difficult. The challenges are there. The financial aid struggles, they're there. Mm-hmm. But when you come out as an individual that you've been through the fire, now you can walk. And so I just want to say that when you graduate from an HBCU, you're part of this club. And no matter what other HBCU you went to, you can connect somehow about the experiences that you shared. And it is a blessing to see other HBCU alums or just thinking about it. So I'm just glad to be part of it. And thank you for inviting me to this.
Attorney Reed.
I echo everyone else's sentiments. Thank you for the opportunity to come and to sit in this space with this amazing panel. This is part one, right?
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So, within the past, week and a half now, we have seen news reports come out about a school system in Utah that allowed parents to opt out of their child learning about engaging in discussion surrounding Black history, right? And I listen, and of course, they've reversed gears, they've changed gears on that, but it still happened. And it caused me to think about an experience that I had in law school. It was my second year of law school at Florida A&M University College of Law, Rattlers. And I was in a race in the law class, taught by Professor Barbara Bernier, Black woman professor. And in that class, we learned about how the law had been used in the United States to negatively impact, disenfranchise, and discriminate against Black people, against Latino people, against Asian people, against American Indian people, all of these different cultures in the United States. To note, at the time that I attended Florida A&M University College of Law, Rattlers, the makeup of the school was not what it is on the main campus. The main campus is 98% Black students. At the law school, which is located in Orlando, Black population was between 48 and 49% at the time. So we had a large white population on the campus at the time. Inside that classroom, Black students, brown students, Asian students, white students were confronted with this discussion about how the law was utilized to discriminate against all of these different cultures other than white cultures. And we had to have these discussions. We had to face what it is that our nation had done, particularly when it came to Black people. And white students engaged in the discussions, Black students engaged in the discussions, everyone engaged in the discussion. And not only did we learn about what happened, we were also ignited to become agents of change, to utilize our law degrees to make sure that we don't get to a place where this is happening again in the same way, and that we can reverse some of the damage that has been done by the law against these Black and brown people. We were ignited to go out and make positive change. And I was inspired in that class to say to myself that when the power of the law is placed in my hand, I will never use it, and I will make sure that anybody under my watch does not use it to discriminate against and to negatively impact somebody simply because of their race. And I can almost guarantee you that that conversation, that educational experience would not have happened in an institution outside of an HBCU. It happened because we had a safe space within which to have that conversation. And we had a professor who was bold enough not just to engage in only Black students in that conversation, but to call everybody together to engage in this discussion and to confront to face, and not just to face, but to demand that we do something about it when we leave the institution. For that reason, I promote, I celebrate our HBCUs, and I encourage our Black students Black, brown, and white students as well, who are interested in furthering their career and going to law school, becoming agents of change, to get that HBCU experience that you will not get anywhere else. You will learn the law. You will learn what you need to learn, just like you will at PWIs. But you will be nurtured in a way that you won't be nurtured anywhere else. You will have a safe space within which to have these discussions, and you will leave with a charge to go out and to reverse and to change the trajectory of where we've been on for so long. So again, thank you for the opportunity to come and share this space.
Ms. Shawn?
Can I just share one thing? Since I'm the only female here on this panel, I do just want to say something small to the Black women who are Black young ladies who are considering HBCUs, because they've heard so many wonderful testimonies from the men here. I want to make sure that if there's a young lady considering, going to an HBCU, regardless of where it is, just know that it is a place where you will be valued, honored, and celebrated, where you can truly grow and become a part of a legacy of Black women who have proven excellence for hundreds of years. I mean, you see one now, of course, really being recognized as the vice president. But I just want to say, more Black women are going to college than Black men. That's a known fact. And so I didn't want to leave this panel without really giving a push and saying to the young ladies that this is a great opportunity. It's a place where you can grow and flourish, find yourself, develop your full potential, and be the woman that God has called you to be. And so I just want to say that, it's exciting to see young ladies on campus. And just to kind of reiterate what the men here started to say in the beginning, when they stepped on the campus, we were the first ones that they saw. And my nephew, I remember within the first week of him arriving, he came to my office and he said, "Auntie, I've never seen so many beautiful and smart Black women in my life." And so HBCUs are a place where you can be beautiful and smart all at the same time, and you will be told over and over. It's just a wonderful place to become the woman that you're going to be. And so please consider joining the legacy of myself, my three sisters, and all the women around the world who have chosen this path.
Beautiful, beautiful. Dr. Lockhart, we'll give you the final word, and then we'll have our pastor, Pastor Stephen Gates, come in to give final remarks as well as closing prayer. Dr. Lockhart?
What a wonderful platform. I think this is outstanding. Again, it has to be part one of many. The Black college experience, what does it really mean? Simply that, and I had to figure that out when I got there because I was looking for it. Was it a woman? Was it a man? Was it the education? What is the experience everyone keeps talking about? When I went home that first semester of my freshman year and I came back in January, I saw it. I understood what it meant. Then when I went home that summer and came back my sophomore year, I became part of that Black experience. Then I went home again, I came back my junior year, I was the Black experience. So we have to be able to be our own cheerleader to talk about that. So it's not that we saw pretty women. What I saw was these women were dressed really nice, their hair was done, they smelled nice, they were smart in class. That's what I was talking about when I say the women. From Philadelphia, as Brother Williams was saying, from California, from Chicago, from New York, that sort of thing. So the Black college experience, it's not for sale. I'm sorry. You have to go in and you have to live that. I have two children. They went to the Black college experience. One did not, one went. And so the other one, my wife went to Tuskegee, and she's always talking about the Black college experience. Thank you.
Again, I want to just say to our platform participants, thank you so much for coming on. When we put the flyer up, I had several church members say, "Oh, you have some heavy hitters on your platform for this weekend." So thank you so much. And again, we will come back. We'll do a part 2. Pastor Gates will speak to that, but I just want to say thank you on behalf again of our church officers, our church members. Many of them have been texting me while we're on here and just saying how much they enjoyed the experience today. And I also want to just give kudos to our pastor for this vision and charging us to ensure that the Black experience was echoed. I want to say again to Dr. Bullard, Dr. Leland, Ms. Young, again, thank you so much. I know you all are busy on your campuses. Thank you so much for taking your time out. Dr. Lockhart, I know how busy you are. And so thank you so much, Attorney Reed, and of course, Mr. Williams. Thank you so much for being a part of the Ephesus West Palm Beach discussion today. Pastor Gates.
Well, I want to say good evening to everyone. I want to thank you personally, once again, Ms. Young, Dr. Lockhart, Mayard, Williams, and Dr. Leland, Dr. Bullitt, and Attorney Reed. Want to thank you guys for giving us some of your time today. And I want to invite all of those who are on Facebook as well as YouTube to salute and affirm these panelists at this time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for donating your time and also your insight and knowledge. And we will do a part 2. We will do a part 2. I will concur with Dr. Bullitt when he stated that there's no need for us to sell HBCUs to our youth, just get them there. And the experience and the atmosphere will sell itself. And as an alumnus of Oakwood, my alma mater, Oakwood sold itself to me. And so I want to salute our HBCUs, and we want you guys to come back because we know that God is working on the hearts of many of our youth to attend some of our Black institutions, and we know that you would be a great help as it relates to doing that. And so thank you once again. And we want to pray and ask God's blessings to be upon you and your service, as well as I also believe that it's a ministry. And so I want to pray and ask God's blessings and strength to rest upon you as we depart tonight. Let's talk to the Lord. Father, in Jesus' name, we're thankful and we're grateful to breathe your breath of life. I am so thankful, God, for these professionals, Lord, Black professionals that you have sent us tonight to convey insight on the relevance, the importance of HBCUs. I want to pray your blessings upon Ms. Young. I want to pray your blessings upon Dr. Lockhart, Mayard, Williams, Dr. Leland, Dr. Bullitt, and Attorney Reed in a very special way. And Father, we bless your name. Keep them, Lord, please, in the palms of your hands. Bless their institutions in a very special way. And Father, grant them wisdom continuously from on high. And Father, we thank you and we praise you that very soon that our faith will become sight and we will see you face to face. But in the interim, God, we pray that you will use us effectively and continuously in our areas of responsibility. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. And before we conclude tonight, I also want to salute Dr. Ricky for such a wonderful job tonight. Let's put our hands together for him. Amen. We know what led him to HBCUs, huh? It also inspired all of us as males on this panel here. Amen. Whether it's spoken or unspoken. God bless you.
Pastor, before we go, just real quickly, I just want to make note to everyone On February the 27th, we will be honoring our 4 pillars of our community for the Ephesus Lifetime Achievement Award. In the medical field, we'll be recognizing Dr. Catherine Lowe. In the legal field, we'll be honoring Mr. T.J. Cunningham. As our educator, we'll be honoring Dr. Mary Ann DuPont. And for community impact, we'll be honoring Miss Edith Bush. And finally, for ministry, we'll be honoring Pastor Griffin Davis. So we want you all to tune in on 11 o'clock on February the 27th as they receive the Ephesus Lifetime Community Service Award.
God bless you, and thank you so much, panelists.